go.
Good morning, Alameda.
Morning.
So, how are you doing today?
Doing just well.
How's the coffee?
Just fine.
Okay, so we're here to interview today on the era of the 1960s, in which you were a teenager, of course, right?
You make me feel like Fred Flintstone, but that's okay.
It's okay, as long as you're young at heart.
Okay.
Right, everybody? Right, okay. So, my first question to you is, what was it like being a teenager in the 60s?
Well, it was pretty difficult. A lot of the conveniences that you guys have today, I was actually the initiator of some of that. I was the original garage door opener. I was the original cordless phone. I was the original remote control, because we didn't have any of those things in the 60s or 50s. When my parents wanted to look at a new station on TV, I had to get up and manually change the station. And in fact, television went off at midnight. They played the national anthem and the TV screen went blank at midnight. There's only 4 stations. When we came home from somewhere, I had to get out of the car and lift the garage door open so they could drive in. When the phone rang, I had to run to the kitchen and get the phone and bring it to them. So there were a lot of conveniences. There was no microwave. When something needed to be heated, you had to put it in the oven for an hour. So it was a little bit more difficult back then, and so I had a lot of unpaid jobs.
Wow, that seems tough. So, my second question to you is, what were situations like back in the 60s? Were they a lot different from today?
Well, things were a lot different than today. Like, for example, on a Friday night, if I wanted to go somewhere, I would ask my mom and dad for $2. For $2, I could fill up my car. I could put 5 gallons of gas in my car because gas was 23 cents a gallon. I could drive around all night with my friends. There was a hamburger place on McDonald's Avenue called Munchie Burgers. You could get a giant hamburger for 19 cents. So my car would get filled up and my stomach would get filled up all on $2. 19 cents.
Are you serious? 19 cents. Did you hear the man? 19 cents. Okay. Now my third question to you is, how was it living through the Civil Rights Movement era?
Well, I was trying to go to college to get an education, but I got stuck in the Civil Rights Movement because Angela Davis was a kind of a college dissident at San Francisco State, and as I would walk from class to class, there would be student protests outside, and the San Francisco police would come and throw tear gas and come on horseback and start feeding students, and I would get involved with that, even though I really wasn't involved in the movement. I kind of saw it firsthand, and also up at Cal Berkeley with Mario Savio. He was kind of leading the dissidents, and basically their complaint was all about the Vietnamese War and how we see it today, how everybody wants us to get out of Afghanistan and Pakistan. Same thing back then, everybody wanted us to get out of Vietnam, and so there was a lot of unrest that I was kind of involved in, just trying to get an education.
Wow, that's tough and harsh. And my fourth question to you is, how was it living through the assassination in the 60s?
Yeah, I can remember that. I remember being in church on Sunday when President Kennedy was assassinated, and I just can remember looking at my mom and dad's face of how, this Catholic president that everybody revered was murdered, and how devastated the country was on November 22nd. And then also with Martin Luther King, how the racial divide kind of came to a head at that point, and it was difficult. I went to Salesian High School, which is kind of a cloistered environment, and then I went off to junior college.
Salesian.
Salesian was a very secluded environment, but I was born and raised in Richmond, and so that was very diverse. And in fact, McDonald Avenue was a place to hang out on Friday nights. We would cruise up and down McDonald Avenue, and then we get down to 3rd and McDonald, and basically we would fight. Generally it was Hispanics and Caucasians, but sometimes there'd be African Americans, and so Friday and Saturday nights was our nights to cruise the Main and get into fisticuffs with other ethnicities. But nobody ever got shot or stabbed or anything. It was all fighting, and that was all part of the assassinations. The tensions rose in Richmond. I can remember Richmond being on fire after Martin Luther King was assassinated. And in Watts, in L.A., and Richmond, there was lots of tension going on.
Counterculture.
And for my last question, I would like to ask you, how is it living through the counterculture and all?
Hey, guess I have to sugarcoat this a little bit. The counterculture of the hippie movement and all that was diametrically opposed to where I was in my life. I was an athlete, and I actually couldn't stand long-haired people that were smoking weed. And to this day, when I go up to Berkeley and Shattuck Avenue and I see all that stuff going on, I really don't have much time for that lifestyle. That's not how I was raised, and I'm not into that. In fact, I actually try to go the other way when I see that type of lifestyle because I don't appreciate it.
Okay, so
wrap it up. I don't have 10 seconds.
Here you guys saw how we took a journey to Alameda and how tough life was back in the 1960s. Hopefully we will all appreciate it, and thank you very much.